Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Dynamics 365 Security and Licensing Updates, What You Need to Know. I'm Sebastian Anderson with the Licensing and Database Desk here at Avantico. We have a huge topic on the menu for today, one with implications for every corner of the D365 world. To guide us through these massive changes, we have Morten Løgstrup, our Director of Customer Engagement, and Tatiana Subotin, our Licensing Database Technical Lead. They'll be walking us through Microsoft's licensing enforcement announcements, basic and advanced security and licensing assessments, real-world client examples of licensing assessment outcomes, and a special limited-time licensing offer for attendees only. Topping things off, there will be a Q&A at the end of the session. Morten will be taking over shortly, but before we dive into today's session, I'd love to share some of the other exciting webinars and events we have coming up. First, on June 24th, Streamlining Multi-Entity Financial Close and Consolidation in Dynamics 365 Finance. You'll learn how AMCS, our D365 solution for automating complex accounting across multi-entity organizations, can accelerate your financial close, streamline intercompany eliminations, and multi-entity consolidation. Then we have Unlock Smarter Budget Planning with D365 Finance coming up on the 10th of July. Whether you're live on D365 Finance or evaluating it as your next ERP, this webinar will show you how the platform delivers firm control of your budgeting process, boosts forecasting accuracy, slashes manual work, and increases ROI across the board. We'll have even more events added soon, including an August webinar diving into Microsoft Fabric and its newest AI-powered capabilities, including Copilot integration. Keep your eyes peeled for more details, and be sure to let us know about any topics you'd like to see us cover in the future. All registration links for these events will be made available in the chat and on our website. One last note, as we go along, do not hesitate to pop any questions you have into the chat. We will answer them in the open Q&A at the end of the presentation, or in a direct email follow-up. This talk will also be recorded and distributed in a follow-up mailer for easy viewing later on. And with that, Morten, take it away.
Thank you, Sebastian, and good morning and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Morten, as Sebastian mentioned. I'm located here in Los Angeles, California, away from the riots, so everybody is good. Today, I will go through some different base assessments, some new reports that Microsoft have released actually just a couple of days ago. And that should give you a good indication of what you can do yourself, like immediately. And then we have added some changes to our advanced security and licensing analysis. I'll show you some of those. And then my co-presenter here today, Tatiana, will do a little demo around the user security governance and telemetry functionalities. Because we have seen since our last webinar that the telemetry data is highly relevant in order for you to understand your user behavior, which is driving, of course, security roles, but also the future licenses. We have a couple of promotion, some links, and again, we are going to share the slide deck, we are going to share the recording, and if for some reason you need things faster than we can produce it, just reach out to either me, Sebastian, or drop your information. So anyway, let's get started. So Microsoft announced, as everybody know, that September 1st there will be a notification for users. We have a little bit more insight into that on the next slide. And November 1st is still the target enforcement date. It's for all supply chain and finance and supply chain related applications, including commerce, project operations, and human resources, which is slightly cheaper from a licensing perspective. What's currently unknown is the timeline. I don't think Microsoft is extending it. I was on a call yesterday with Microsoft, and it seems like September 1st and November 1st is set in stone because it's aligned with the public licensing guide. So I don't think any extensions are going to be made. Yeah, I don't think it. We keep the November 1st and September 1st date like top of mind. I have been told that some customers might be granted grace periods. I do not have a lot of information about it. I have a little bit, but we might be able to touch base on that at the next webinar when I have some more information. If you are in a category where things are not looking so good from a licensing perspective, reach out and I can see if you can be rolled into any potential grace periods. So what's going to happen? We know from a user perspective that there will be a warning bar starting September. So when they log into D365, they will be met with this warning. It might be a little bit different. The date might be updated a little bit, but it's more or less what they can see. They will require to reach out to your system admin and get a new license assigned or existing license depending on your availability. What we learned just recently is in your admin center, admin.microsoft.com, there will actually be some more reporting and also some announcements with different links to different FAQs and blogs and so on. So check that out in your admin center. It should be there already. That's kind of a new notification. If we jump to the next slide here, there is a set of tools and reporting capabilities available. And what I know from attending the Microsoft licensing information webinar the other day, your tier 1 and tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 sandboxes, they are currently not part of this enforcement. And we still, as you probably know, admins are not being charged. That is going to remain as is. But if your system admin have other roles, then they wouldn't require a license. So there's some different best practices for that we cover in our advanced reporting. Service accounts, important too. You might have 5, 10, 15, 20 service accounts. They are not being counted, so that's a good one too. Device licenses, it will continue to run. That's a new information. But there will be some sort of validation later on. Will that happen in 26 or 25? I don't think so. I think it will happen in 26. Storage, we touched base on it previously, and we are going to touch base a little bit on that topic today as well. But again, it's not enforced in 25 as far as we know as of today. And that's a 26 topic. Microsoft want to get the D365 enforcement done first, and then they are rolling out the storage enforcement. We also going to check a little bit on prices. I do not know if Microsoft are changing the prices. I do hope so, because currently it's very expensive if you are over with a couple of terabytes or even 500 gigabytes. We'll talk about that later. We have seen that ISV solutions, some ISV solutions are a little bit, you can call it almost invasive when it comes to your security. So please check whether or not your ISV security roles are driving D365 licenses, because that's going to be enforced as well. If you have multiple tenants, then the same licensing enforcement is required for both tenants. Multiplexing, for those who are not familiar with that, it pretty much means if you are trying to circumvent a certain license, you are not allowed to do that. So Microsoft is aware of that as well. There is a couple of tools you already have access to. It's the Admin Center that most of you should be familiar with. Then you have User Security Governance, which is a new feature or module in 10.43 and 44. Lifecycle Services, all of you that are live or implementing definitely have that. And then you have Power Platform Admin Center. We are going to pretty much touch all of them today. But you can see, and we will share it later, you can see some basic info in the Admin Center. You get much more granular information in user security governance. And in lifecycle services, you can also get some granular information that you can use for your licensing reporting. But you definitely also need to update your licensing or subscription estimator in LCS. And then you have the Power Platform Admin Center. Since we did the webinar last time, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Microsoft have corrected some issues, discrepancy issues, and changed some of the namings so that the reports is much more accurate as of today. So if you have seen some small changes, that's because Microsoft have rolled out some updates, which is great. Quick question: is there any, Sebastian? I can't see the chat. Is there any questions so far?
So far, we are clear of questions, but if anyone
Good.
does have any, feel free to post them in the chat as we go along. We'll probably be able to answer a few select questions at breaks in the presentation, and then a whole lot more at the end.
Perfect. So we touched base on this, and you might be familiar with some of the legacy reports. They are 100% being deprecated. It was confirmed the other day. So if you historically relied on these out-of-the-box reports, forget about them. They are not existing anymore. So sooner or later, you won't even be able to pull them. The reason for that is some of the metadata. Let me see if I can jump to the next slide. Yep, some of the metadata in D365 is being deprecated because it was actually not accurate. So Microsoft's engineering team, they rolled out some new logic that also give you much better insight into the privileges, and it's actually aligned with the public available licensing report. So these deprecated report, you can't trust them anymore. We mentioned it earlier. Now we have confirmed from Microsoft that they are being completely deprecated. The exact date, I do not have that, but it's not so relevant because you can't trust them anymore. There's new tools for assessing your licensing need. What can you do as a customer? This is kind of a 4-step approach for us, like a self-assessment. And I always say start by looking into your Power Platform Admin Center. You do need to have either Global Admin or Power Platform Admin role, security role, in order to see the different details that I will show on the next page. And then also in LCS, you have some really good user reporting that can lay the baseline of how many users do you have in the system versus how many licenses do you actually have, and then you have a good understanding of the delta. In user security governance that Tatiana will show you a little bit later, that would be the kind of the next step. If you are on 43 or 44, if not, there is some ways where we can pull some data, and that's actually what we are doing historically with our customers. So we bridge that gap. Now in 43 and 44, as mentioned, you have the user security governance report and license usage summary report, which is much more granular than we have seen historically. So they have fixed some things both in the USG reporting and also in the Power Platform reporting that you should be able to see as of today. So here's a really good observation we have done. I can't remember how many security analysis since mid-May on those topics. normally what we see, and I'm just sharing some observation, is there is a pretty significant gap from the licenses our customers have purchased to the required licenses. Um, Before you go in and purchase the Delta, it's definitely worth doing a more detailed analysis of what's triggering these different licenses and what can you do about it, and how to actually do it. We will go into that in a second, because you only need a few security roles that are, for example, that drive users up to a supply chain management, that can actually, if a user is supply chain management, only a few privileges can actually trigger that, instead of being a lower tier activity or a team member, which is a massive amount from a dollar perspective. In Admin Center, just like from Office 365, it's in here you assign the different licenses in order to be compliant. And then plan for it. I kind of initiated a little bit, but you definitely need to look into it. And if there's a massive gap, we do recommend that you are trying to remediate as much as you can to avoid a large step up. But we will talk more about that in a second. Some of the reports that are now available and been available for a couple of months is, if you jump to your Power Platform Admin Center, you see finance operation. All bugs, according to Microsoft, is now fixed. So these numbers that you see on the screen is actually accurate. The available seats that's being pulled from Admin Center or LCS, the assigned seat also from Admin Center, and you have the required seat, which we see in many cases being significant over your available seats. And there was some bugs previously, they have now been fixed. So if you, for example, see, hey, why do I need, or if you saw historically, why do I need human resource self-service? There was a bug. It should have been team member that Microsoft now have fixed. So if you go in, refresh it, it should be fixed. It might take a couple of days. But in here you can also export, and then you can actually see what users require what license. So it's getting better. It's getting more robust. If we do another drill down into, for example, I clicked on the finance user licenses, you can see the different users in your system. You can pick production. And then over here on the assigned license, you can see in this case, we have assigned a finance premium to all users. But down here for this HPE, they actually need a license assigned. There's currently not like a warning. Who knows if Microsoft is going to update that? But in here you can clearly see who have a license, who don't have a license, if you don't want to jump back to the admin center. When this is also a new feature that Microsoft released recently. And it's pretty much, if you click on this person, this is just a different screenshot, Microsoft recommend what license you should provide, in this case, a finance or a finance premium. Before you do that, always figure out if it's actually needed or if you can do anything with the current security roles that bring the user from a finance to an activity or activity to a team member. Because permitting or signing up for licenses, you have to be very aware of the different terms, meaning historically you could downgrade your licenses on a daily basis because there was no enforcement from the partner side. Now with the new commerce experience, as Microsoft call it, licenses can only be reduced 7 days after purchases if you, for example, have an annual commitment. There is also the option where you purchase them on a month-to-month basis, where you then can reduce them on a monthly basis. But they do come with I believe it's a roughly 20% premium. So there's different things you need to be aware of. We can help you with everything. I did put a little note up here, no security recommendations. Yes, there is a licensing recommendation, But in this report, it doesn't give you any recommendation as of what you need to change in order to fall into another bucket or a category for this user. Let me pause here for a second. Is there any questions, Sebastian?
Yes, we have one from Chi Meng Chan asking, how will Microsoft distinguish between service accounts and admin accounts going forward?
Tatiana, can you answer that? I have to some extent an answer to it.
Sure. Yes. Just prepared an answer and wanted to post it in the chat, but okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's all good. So in general, a service account is a system administrator account, right? That doesn't hold any operational business role like accountant, purchasing agent, or any other role. And the primary purpose of the service, such account, let's say, is either to support the system integration or to manage the system, right? We usually think of system administrators as the people who configure the system. I mean, create users, assign security roles, or something like this. So if the system administrator abuses the rules and posts, creates operational or financial records post transactions, is it possible to catch it? Yes, it is possible. Does Microsoft do it? So far, we haven't heard of this. Like we don't have any example when Microsoft would audit such records, but we know that if a third-party auditor has to audit a company, they can validate, and most likely they will validate, created by, modified by are the two fields that are activated in lots of tables, and it's visible who created the record, who created the transaction. So yes and no. Can a system administrator post business transactions? Yes, technically, yeah, he can. Does he require a license? No, he doesn't. Can we abuse the rule to a certain point? Then the auditors can catch you.
You want to play dice, you can, I suppose,
Right.
but might not recommend that.
Yeah, no.
Any other questions, Sebastian?
No, at the moment we are clear of those.
Good, perfect. Then I jump to the next topic. The next topic is database capacity, and this is as mentioned earlier, it's currently not being enforced in 25 as far as we know. It will likely happen sometime in 26, and just from experience and what we have seen, probably 80%, 75-80% of our customers and not our customers, but the analysis we perform, they show significant overage when it comes to the entitlement. And this is very important to pay attention to, because the pricing for the database is very, very high, or can be very high, depending on where you are. So we will go through how to check it. There is some different ways you can reduce your databases, but it all depends on what tables that are driving the databases. In the June licensing report, there is on page, 60 something, there is a little metrics that actually show your occurred and included tenant storage. And if you go to that page, or take a screenshot of this one, you can actually see how Microsoft are calculating your metrics. And that comes back to, it makes sense first to enforce the D365 user licenses, because most customers will have to add some additional licenses, and that give them additional storage. And when that is that's in place, then it make more sense for Microsoft to then enforce the database size. Same place, Power Platform Admin Center. If we looked at the finance and operation tab down here, and there's actually a lot of good insights if you are using Power Automate, Dataverse, Copilot, and so on. Some good reports here. Again, you need to be global admin or Power Platform admin. If you hover up to the capacity add-on, click on the summary, or you should actually be sent to the summary tab, you'll get a good overview of what's happening for the Dataverse. That's the first box up here. And then what's happening for your finance and supply chain database entitlement. In this case, you can see we have a lot of availability. Great. There's no warnings. There's no issues whatsoever. If you click on this little arrow here, you can actually see what licenses are giving you the different storage space. Additional capacity, that's a standalone SKU. Some customers have it, some customers don't have it. But in here, also over here in the file, it gives you a little bit more breakdown of how the entitlement is calculated. If you click on finance and operations, we will see that in 2 screenshots time, there is a better breakdown of what's actually happening. But first, I want to show you how it looks like if you are over your entitlement, and this is from a live customer. And as you can see here, the give and take over with 4 terabyte of data in their finance and operation database, which is currently or would currently cost them $4 or $6 million annually. You might see that you're over capacity, or you'll see this warning, and it says it impacts certain environment operations. Currently, I do not have any example of what it would impact. If we get some, we are definitely sharing it, but right now it's kind of like a warning. If Microsoft are going to enforce it, who knows what they're actually going to do. But this is very, very important to pay attention to, no matter if you are a CSP customer or enterprise customer, because we have seen the requirements for the Microsoft accounts saying, hey, you definitely need to buy more storage, and then the negotiation is on. I promised I wanted to jump into this tab that gives you a little breakdown. If I go to back, if you click on the finance and operation tab here, you are being sent to a little more detailed workspace where you can see over here it's marked out, but you can see all your sandbox, your environments and so on. And then you have this in pink/purple where you can actually click on them, and you will see a further drill down per table. What is making up the, for example, 26.54 gigabyte? And in most cases, we do see a fairly large production instance, and then almost similar sandbox instances. There's some different strategies in how to reduce the different databases, may that be a sandbox or production. And there's also some best practices around how many you should have and so on. It's something we help with when we do a more advanced analysis. The last slide around databases, again, we don't think anything will happen in 25. It seems like it's going to be 26. This is going to be enforced, but remember, prepare for this, because it can take a significant amount of time to reduce your databases, depending on the tables, depending on the reporting impact, and so on and so forth. This slide is important because that shows the prices that you may be facing. And as you can see down here, let's just focus on the finance and supply chain capacity. Production data is 40 gigabyte per month per gigabyte. And you can buy 1, 2, 3 at the time, great. For non-production, for your sandboxes, that's a little bit lower, but you can only purchase 1 terabyte, 1,000 gigabyte at the time, which is currently $360,000 a year. So pay attention to it. If you need help, feel free to reach out. We have done many database reduction activities for our customers, and we can definitely take a look at yours as well. Sebastian, any questions before we jump into the next topic?
As of right now, no questions. As a reminder to everyone, feel free to post them if you do have questions. We are certainly happy to answer them. And there will be another chance, another crack at those before we are done here today.
Perfect. So this is more, we showed you a bunch of slides around what can you do yourself. You can definitely do the baseline. We also see some customers starting to clean up, but where it really gets difficult is if you have a massive amount of users, you have custom security roles, you have ISV that are driving up, or ISV security roles that are driving up the numbers, and it can seem a little bit hard to manage. So we do help with like some more advanced analysis that requires very, very little time from your team. Why is this important? We talked about most of it. It's being enforced by Microsoft. That's kind of number one. You don't want to pay for licenses if you don't need them. Meaning what we typically see is a lot of users in a system. They have been just assigned some security roles. So may that be a head of go live, or we just need to replicate an existing role. Let's or security custom role. Let's just assign it to the next person we hire, and nobody have really paid attention to it. And if you just follow the recommendations that we showed earlier from the Power Platform Admin Center, you might assign supply chain licenses or finance licenses where activity or team member could actually be enough. We also see segregation of duty violations. In some cases, users can both write checks and approve checks. Let's figure out how we can mitigate that. That's in everybody's interest. Compliance and audit, depending on your company, you might have external audit firms that are doing audits for you. This can definitely help speed up that process, so you save some money on that. In some cases, we have seen that business process redesign is needed, meaning when the finance and supply chain was implemented, the implementer said, this is the way you have to do these processes, and that's the only way. So we have to customize a little bit, where now there might be new functionalities or new enhancement to existing functionalities that actually allow you to go more standard. So you go from a custom business process to a more standard business processes, which also drive down your license potentially. We have seen those examples from different customers. And ISVs, as we mentioned, depending on your ISV and your business, it's a little bit different. There's some I wouldn't call it common sinners, but there's definitely something out there to be aware of. How is the process? We can deliver advanced security report, which is give and take between 15 and 30 pages of what you need to do, where we break it down very, very, very specific. We will see that in a second. But all we need to do you need to do is a 60-minute screen share. We extract some data, we do some baselining, and then we actually have enough information to process the data and analyze the data. And we are looking, if you have telemetry, that's absolutely excellent. If you don't, we can help you enable that, because it gives you a really good indication of the user's behavior, not just the past behavior, but you need it going forward when you have to manage this yourself. If you are on 1042, that's okay. We can definitely work with that. 43 and 44, you have the user security governance that helps a little bit. If you need some training in those modules or enabling them, we can also do that in the process. And then we look at some of the ISV data. In some cases, you might have some legacy or older, let's call it older ISV solutions that we normally say, hey, have you thought of going standard? Microsoft actually released this and that product that is compatible to whatever ISV solutions you have today. That could be one scenario. Then we have a give and take 60-minute presentations where we show you what's happening, why it's happening, and then we also go into very granular detail on how you can clean it up. And we deliver this report to you after the meeting. The recommendations, if you jump down to that bullet 9, the recommendations is very hands-on. So I would say 60-70% of our customers, they are actually cleaning up themselves. And the last, give and take 30%, they want our help completely to do it. But I do see the best kind of return of investment between us and customers is if we are working together on it. So your team take on as many as the recommendations as you can, and then we do some recurrent sessions where we actually educate, we train, we figure out how we can tweak some of these things based on the recommendations, and your team become much more comfortable doing this going forward. Any question to the process, Sebastian?
Let's see, we do have a couple of questions here. They're sort of circling around how licensing relates to database sizing and file storage.
Yep.
So first of all, from Damien Kirchheffer, I know this conversation is related to licensing and DB sizing. Have you heard of any automated solutions to support F&O data archival to reduce DB storage?
That's a good question. There is a tool out there. I forgot. It's a Microsoft tool. I forgot the name of it. I can find it and send it to you. But it was in preview. Then it was pulled back from the website. Then it was in preview again. So my answer is kind of a little bit vague. There's no, as far as I know, tools for this. Microsoft do have some tools. I'm not 100% sure if it's in preview or GA, but we can check on that. And as far as I understand, how is this related? The more licenses you have, the more database size you have. That's pretty much how it's related. So if you have very few, you have very few licenses, you have a very small database entitlement. So if you are, for example, doing a lot of transactions in the system, or you have inventory transactions and you're not closing those, that is building up your database very, very rapidly if you are a high volume shipper or something like that. Yep. Yeah. Any other questions, Sebastian?
Sure. We also have one from Angela Clark. What about sandboxes on virtual machines? Are those costed the same way in terms of storage and Microsoft's billing?
That's a good question. I believe if we go back to our statement here, I believe they are currently not. But I can double check on that, Miss Clark. Yeah, I can double check on that. I don't believe they are, but better safe than sorry, right?
Certainly. And yeah, once again for Bala Ramaya, files causing a burden on your licensing costs. So as we discussed, if you have more licenses, each license does have a certain amount of data that it entitles you to. So if you're seeing data usage spikes, it might be because your licenses have been reduced, or you don't have enough storage purchased in your system. Would that be correct to say, Morten?
Yes, and also there's so many things that can be the reason for driving the database size. I'll give you an example. If I don't know if there's a 3PL company here, but if you are a 3PL company, your what we typically see is inventory transaction being a very, very large database due to the high volume. And the reason why we have seen that in some cases is because when you are 3PL, you have customer-owned inventory, meaning you have no costing method. When you configure D365, you need to pick a costing method even though you don't need it. So the default costing method is, in this specific case, was not closing the inventory transactions, which drove the database, completely blew up with, I can't remember, 14 or 15 terabyte. That's one example. Another example that we quite often see is the batch job history. The settings are set to 90 days instead of 30. Another that is also a common sinner. Another typical thing that we see is not the mandatory, but the cleanup tools available for each module are not being used very often. So let me jump a little bit further because I know we have give and take 20 minutes left. This is just a couple of examples. When we do this report, we hand over a lot of details in Excel spreadsheets, but this shows you, for example, amount in production, shows you your current licenses, it shows you the delta, and this is just some prices we have made up. We know they can be different depending on what license you have, what agreement, and so on and so forth. But this kind of show, okay, this is the baseline with how things are set up and configured in D365 today. Then we also deliver a lot of recommendations. I'll dig into them in a second. But that actually says, hey, if you follow these recommendations, you should have this number. And as you can see, it pretty much drive down the approximately monthly price from 45 to 31,000. So definitely worth taking a look into what you can do. Over here, we also kind of accumulate the different databases, so you have an understanding of what the reduction in licenses or step up in licenses will do to your database entitlement. This is, before I hand it over to Tatiana, sorry Tatiana, I'm taking all the time here. This is an example of deliverable. And as you can see here to the left, we start by understanding number of active users in the systems, the role permissions, and so on and so forth. And then we do the analysis, and then we hand over we go through this report with you, and then we break it down in small pieces, so that your IT team can actually do these or implement these recommendations by themselves. In some cases, they might be too difficult, or you want our help, that's totally fine. But this is just to show you it's very detailed what we are delivering in that report. Tatiana, do you want to show a little bit of the security governance?
Absolutely. Okay, let's jump into hands-on, how we do it. I will walk you through the process of security analysis. I mean, not like how we deliver, how we do it. So what we do usually, we go with the client and we collect data, as we mentioned. We go to the users page first. We collect data on the users page, and what we're interested in is who is enabled, who is disabled. You probably know that Microsoft reports show license requirements even for the disabled users. I don't know the reason why, but the fact is that in the report you will see the disabled users. We eliminate them. This is the first point. The second point, we usually go to I'm going to show the security governance section today. I'm not going to show you the old way, because in the recent analysis we came across lots of the clients who are on 1043 already. So there is a way to do it for 1042, as Morten mentioned, but I will show you the 1043 approach. We go to the security analysis report and we export this data to analyze what menu items drive certain requirements for each security role. If you build custom security roles, or if you use ISV security roles, you probably noticed that your security roles sometimes require mixed licenses. For example, finance and operations and supply chain, or finance and operations, supply chain and project. It's visible in this report. There is a column that is called user license legacy. It shows for each particular menu item, it shows the license requirement. What if you decide to go with Microsoft out-of-box roles? Are they perfect? They're almost perfect, but not really. There are some roles, and I want to show you the examples that I came across. There are some roles like retail merchandising manager or retail operations manager that require 3 licenses, right? Supply chain, finance, and commerce. And retail so far is the only area where I found mixed licenses, but I don't check them all the time, and probably there are more. So can you rely on the Microsoft? Yes, but you have to check, right? This is the first point. We analyze, sorry, this one. We analyze the roles configuration. There is no users, as you see. So we're only thinking about the roles, how they're configured, and what we can drop in case if some roles require extra licenses. Then we are moving to user activity. User activity. There is a user activity aging report, and there is a table related to the user activity, right? So new way versus old way, old school, like new school versus old school, but still you can retrieve this data. And you see, I'm interested in the last logon date. We found a lot in our reports that the users who haven't been using the system for 90 days, we put 90 days, but your agent can be different for 90 days in particular. The users who haven't been logged in the system for 90 days, we can consider these users conditionally inactive, and we can either inactivate them or assign a view-only role to these users. The view-only role, properly built, of course, is a team member role. So we go through this analysis. Then, as Morten mentioned, one of the most interesting things, and it's like 90% of the finding is in telemetry. Actually, it's a telemetry. So telemetry, to configure the telemetry, you can see I placed the link, and it takes like 15 minutes to configure and start using this. I will show you the results. This is a telemetry. It's part of Microsoft Azure. It's application and sites inside of Microsoft Azure, and you can run queries, different queries, to retrieve data. The query language is a little bit different. It's a KQL language, but Microsoft presented a few queries here, so it's really intuitively easy language. And when you run your queries, we pay attention to. We pay attention to the menu item, the display menu item. We pay attention to when it was accessed and who was the user. Right? You see that I opened sales tables, but if I run this report again, you will see that, no, there is a delay. Sorry, there is a delay, a few minutes delay. Like we noticed probably like 3, 4, 5 minutes delay. So maybe you will see my activity a little bit later. So you see, like I'm paying attention to 3 things: what, when, and who accessed. Right? And then we build a report. And I will show you a piece of presentation that we usually show to our clients. This is how we do it. We put these 3 parameters together. One couple is coming from the telemetry collection. The other pair is coming user to role, is coming from the security user role association, and the third pair is coming from the role permission, which is a security analysis report I just showed before. And then when we put all these things together in front of each other, we can say the frequency of usage, duration of engagement, active users per menu item. So we can identify subject matter experts or active users whom we can go back and ask how how they're using this menu item. Like in case if we would like to eliminate some menu items or some privileges, duties, and sub roles, eliminate. We can drop it in the role. We can find the unused menu items and privileges and duties and sub roles. We can suggest not a perfect, but let's say we can suggest a role assignment to the users, right? So this telemetry gives us a lot of information, and we deliver everything to you. So it's going to be yours. All analyzed data is going to be used as well as the engine behind, right? How it's calculated, all calculation behind. So you can update your security roles, your security configuration, and you can rerun these reports without us on your own. Of course, we will show how to do it. And this is how it looks like. So we deliver this kind of security telemetry analysis. So we show for each role, for each menu item, and also you see the license requirement. We show how many users accessed this menu item. The telemetry is usually 90 days, so within the 90 days, right? How many times they accessed, how many, we call it touches, how many milliseconds they spent on this menu item, and the total number of users assigned to this role. So the total number of users who have access. So you see, like one user definitely is not using these menu items, but the other one is using. And then you see the names or like the user ID for each. It's just like it's the same report, but a different slicing. So if you have questions, look, Morten, I didn't need all the time you left for me. Thank you. Yeah, so if you have questions, please feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer.
Sure. I think one of the ones that might apply to the audience generally is how do we approach the use of bespoke roles when we're analyzing a licensing setup? How do we address roles that have been customized or that may not fit the out-of-the-box standard exactly?
Tatiana probably have some good answers to it. One of the things we have seen, Philip, is I'll give you one example. For a large customer, they have give and take 2,000 users. They just copy pasted a standard security role that was modified to new users without even looking. That caused major issue from an audit perspective. So never do that. Just replicate a role. If, for example, another example, we have a customer that are very large in the food distribution space, and they have device licenses that was set up, and we saw under those specific security roles that there was some additional roles added that was actually not needed for the device, meaning some of the users both needed a device and a supply chain license. Based on the telemetry, we could remove some of the security roles so that a device license was fine. So it all depends on your different scenarios, but happy to dig into it and see what's actually going on, because most of the time we do see that far too many security roles and privileges have been added to these different roles, and you can then trim them down. That's exactly what Tatiana and Anna Benson is delivering in the report. Did I answer that, Tatiana, correctly?
Yep, absolutely. Yes. So we don't of course we pay attention to roles assignment. The overall reassignment. But our most focus is on the custom roles, because we don't argue to Microsoft, we don't update out-of-box roles. We keep them solid. Microsoft keeps updating them, and it's not up to us to interfere, right? But we definitely consider the custom roles, and sometimes the custom roles are perfect. Sometimes I'm saying like, your configuration is perfect, but the assignment is not. And sometimes it's the other way. You know, the assignment is not bad, but the configuration can be improved. So it's the overall. We start with the users, three perspectives from three perspectives: user activity, system administrators, service accounts, and device users. So this is the first point. Like, what is going on with the users, and then what's going on with the roles? So roles without users. So how can we improve roles? And then the third one, if you have telemetry. So how we can improve your user to role or role to user assignment.
Very good.
And that ties into the report. We are drilling down in all these different roles and then giving recommendation based on what's actually driving the licenses. And it could be, as you're mentioning, Philip, one specific security role, custom security role, are driving 900 users up to a supply chain. Why is that? And is it actually needed? So we will definitely look into that and deliver some recommendations based on that. If I think we have 3 more minutes, let me just cover. Let's see here. Let me just cover a couple of promotions that we have. We can do this advanced analysis for 2,500. It's a fixed fee, and we do take the time to really understand your data and then deliver some recommendations based on the recommendations. We do recommend that you take on as much as possible yourself when it comes to remediation or cleanup, but we can definitely help on a time and material basis, or on a, we agree to a bucket of hours. It's fairly flexible. Another very important slide is all these different links. We will share them later, but there was a couple of questions related to the licensing guide. It should be here. There's also a Microsoft blog post where they update what's going on, and we are trying to be a little bit ahead of the game by updating our own FAQ, actually based on all your good feedback and other customers' feedback. So stay tuned on some of these blogs, or keep out or look out for some of our newsletters, and you'll definitely be in a good shape when September 1st, November 1st hit. 2 minutes left.
Sure. Let's see if we have any more questions burning through. Let's see. So we do have one from Philip Johnson, essentially asking whether archiving for purchase orders has been released yet, or is officially supported as a feature on D365.
Do you know the answer to that, Tatiana? If not, we can sync with our technical team. Yeah.
I'll be honest. No, I don't know what's going with the archiving of the purchase orders. We need to get back, and
We'll get some info, Philip. Thanks for the question.
Great. And then the other one is pretty much just a standard question. What criteria does Microsoft use to classify a security role under the supply chain or finance licenses? Kurdson Sands has noticed that many of their roles span both.
Yeah, and that's what I dropped in the chat and answered. They are using the licensing guide. So when you look at the different finance and supply chain pages in the licensing guide, there's many different roles and privileges, and that is what driving the different licenses. So it could be in some cases we see, let's say you have 300 users that need a finance and 300 users that need a supply chain. That will be finance and supply chain attached. but is it actually needed? It could be one privilege that are driving them up to needing an extra attachment licenses. So there's so many combinations of what can be the reason. We do see in some cases that users need because of the security role design, that you need finance, supply chain attached, commerce attached, HR attached, project operation attached, and all of a sudden you end up with some very expensive users per month. So there's different pros and cons that we can walk you through in order to optimize that.
Yeah,
And I
if
should
can
also
add-
mention that we have posted the licensing guide in the chat. Just be aware that it is updated fairly frequently. So from month to month, it can change. So on the title page, just be sure when you're looking at it, it's close to current day.
Right. If I can add to the classification a little bit, just 30 seconds. So how are they classified? The first classification is full license versus the other licenses, right? So the full license, in the previous world, 10, 15 years ago, we used to say that if the financial transaction is posted behind the scenes, then it's a full license. If the financial transaction is not posted, then it's not a full license. It's pretty much like right in 85% of the time. Finance versus supply chain. It's a service. What kind of service is provided? Is it finance service or supply chain service or project service? Because F&O is SaaS application. So Microsoft split it up into services. Operations. We hear this question quite often. What's operations, right? You see in the permissions that it's an operations. Operations is, again, it's old school. In the new world, it means that it's unclassified. So Microsoft doesn't know how to classify this, or they haven't classified it yet. So it's a full license. There is most likely a financial transaction behind, but they haven't classified as a service yet. Or if it's an ISV or if it's a custom code, they know it's a full license, but they don't bother to classify it. So if it's an answer.
Mm-hmm. The classic ambiguities continue, but for the most part.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for joining. If you have any additional questions, reach out and we are more than happy to answer them. There's many different scenarios and yeah, we're here to help.